Now, with the release of the brand new Netflix documentary that I really enjoyed today, we have to take a look at Judit Polgar, the chess queen herself, playing against the world number one, Magnus Carlsen. At the end of this video, I'll give a bit of insight into just how many times they played, what the overall record was, but today we're focusing on this clash, played in 2012, Mexico, bit of a round robin tournament. This was a rapid play game. Keep your eye on Judit's queen, or Judit maybe is a better way to say it. Watch the work it gets through, but don't assume the result here. Very big attacking, fighting game. We're going to dive in and then see the tournament results. Let's go. Magnus with knight f3 to start. The clock times are on the left, though they look weird, maybe not up to date. This is a 14-year-old game. We see the explosive c4, and we very quickly enter a King's Indian defense. Judit Polgar was such an aggressive, attacking, exciting player. You'll learn about it in the documentary if you haven't seen it yet, and this exemplifies it. Kasparov loved it, Fischer loved it. It's saying you want to fight, and Magnus goes for this very, very solid move to this day, and also aggressive move. Watch the expansion on the way. Black fights in the center. Magnus pushes. Note the weakened square. Now this knight sidelines itself. Obviously this is what Magnus Schwarzenegger usually says about such moves.
Der Springer an dem Rimmer ist ein absolut Wiener Schnitzel.
But here it makes sense. It's headed back towards the center. We see bishop e3, and now the first of the chess queen's epic queen moves in this game. Queen to e8. Given the question mark, what is that weirdness all about? I mean, it's very difficult to even explain, as someone who's been watching chess a while, seems to be connected with something down here. Let's play through and see. Magnus now expands with a mighty chess roar. Normally Andrea would be spinning the beats, but I'm not sure if she was even born at this time. Obviously just kidding, she was, but she was a lot younger, not yet DJing. The seahorse is spawned and the centre pawn is under fire, so there's no time to push here. Magnus drops back the pony and covers the centre. Now pawn a5, of course, to clamp on this b4 square. Plus you just feel like an absolute boss anytime you push a rook pawn. Bishop e2. Magnus even back then was whispering, stack my bishop. He loved it. Now we see pawn to c ships to undermine that big white centre, and you could already push with pawn h4. You know, the g4 pawn is well enough defended 2 times. But Magnus plays some rook g1 action, x-rays the black king, which now sidesteps to the corner. Finally, Harry the h-pawn gets rumbling down the board. g5's on the way, and you can't jump here so easily. You know, the bishop can chop off, mess up the structure. So we see this ugly move. Dad's absolutely ashamed. You really got to get back out there and get a proper job. You can't live here rent-free all your life. The queen heads out here. Now we see the final developing move of black, and we get the 000 Magnus Santa Claus tucking into bed there, and Judit finally explodes the center. You've got a triple decision about how to recapture there. Why didn't Magnus go with the pawn? Well, you open the c file. Some b5 action could be on the way. Okay, why not go with the e-pawn? Well, now it's a bit easier to get the f5 break in. So knight d5 is a great move. It also comes with a threat of knight c7 going to Forktown. Population Polgar, Judit. So that's why this knight drops back here, not only covering this square, but also looking to hop. And any time this pawn gets to move with some kind of capture, look at the life you breathe into that sniper, right? So h5 from Magnus, and you do have to react. You know, if you carry on with, I don't know, b5 or something, or a4, and you don't react over here, g5's coming, and then even h6, and the bishop's getting literally trapped and lost, and it's very difficult to move the rook while the queen is there. So that's why we get the outlandish looking move. Pawn g5. But we do start to understand it when we realise the threat. Okay, the knight covers it for now. No queen on d2. So king b1 from Magnus. Always play it. Bit harsh here from our metal overlord friend. Bishop a4 tickles the queen. Obviously in those days you couldn't literally tickle over the board. It wasn't really the right etiquette. Even though it was in the rules, you couldn't really do it without upsetting people. So we didn't get so much literal tickle, just on the board instead. b3 kicks back the bishop. It drops into c6. And now Magnus jumps into here. He's tickling now. The rook has to move. And look what's happened. Queen c3. That's a loose a-pawn. Now keep your eye on this queen, like I said, because soon the game's going to explode. How is she coming to life from here? How is that even possible? Well, Judit starts with knight f4. What an outpost. Like I say, you're never capturing here. Pawn takes, absolute suicide down the diagonal. So we get bishop f1, stepping off the attack here. Pawn h6 in response. And Magnus just snaffles a pawn. He's hungry.
Mushrooms.
Judit, though, comes up with an absolutely stunning response here. I mean, imagine you're playing black. Let me flip this board a second. What are you playing here? Sorry if that's thrown your mind and you've just had a beer or something. Don't worry, it was a deliberate flip. We see it too. What would you play here? Pawn f5.
What are you doing?
I mean, whoa. Who's coming up with that one? It's en prise to 2 pawns. Let's flip back and look at it from Magnus Carlsen's point of view. Now in the game, he plays g takes. Why not e takes and keep the defense of this pawn, which is soon taken by the queen? Well, if you do this, again, it's the bishop. It's the long diagonal. Now you can actually start with knight f6 and then play d5 and eventually bring this guy to life. There's different ways to play, but that's the basic positional point. Magnus didn't want that, not in blitz chess, but you can't give that move for free. So he captures with the g-pawn, and now here we go. The second beautiful queen move, heading out into the game, hitting a loose rook. Don't become Magnus Blunderson. No siree. The rook moves to e1. By the way, Magnus was already the world #1 at this point. Not yet world champion. That was in 2013, I believe. Keep me straight if I messed up on that. But I believe he was about to become world champion the following year. Now we see knight f6. The centre's about to collapse. So Magnus heads back with the knight. Good move. Again, you didn't want to be taken here. Open the rook's defense, because then you open the bishop. So we saw this move. Now we see the queen hit. She backs up. You don't want to be Botez gambiting, not in a major tournament. It's fine online. Rook fd8 covers the pawn from the attack. And Magnus now makes a mistake. He should be playing something like rook c1, apparently. Maybe to support c5. I didn't really look into the idea of that move. a4 is a possibility. Yes, you create some holes around the king, but okay, you get a nice clamp. In the game anyway, he plays the stinker. Pawn f3. Now, it really doesn't look that big of a deal. Maybe he's planning to tuck back with the bishop, do some remanoeuvring, but Judit now pounces. There is only one move for a big advantage here. The chess queen herself, true to form, uses the chess queen and stops Magnus from achieving this bishop f2 bishop stack move. And it just discombobulates the white pieces. Rook's hit, moves to c1 now, and there's some beautiful tactics in the air. They're so not easy to spot, but I'm going to give you a clue. Look at the chess queens. So here, Judit unleashes tactical brilliance by taking this knight on d5. Now it's given a question because it's not quite the best way to execute the tactical theme. You're actually better to take with one of these knights. But I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because the themes are the same. Magnus should technically take here, but he captures the bishop with the pawn. How natural is that? Wonderful, solidified cemento center. Opens this c-file for the rook. By the way, it's Peter Leko, who's also a Hungarian grandmaster, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that one, who said that term, cemento, you know, one of the best feelings in chess. Everything's rock steady, covered, and you can then maneuver your pieces. Looks great for Magnus, but there's a brilliant tactical shot. What was played here by Judit? Knight 4 takes on d5. And not only do you fork these two pieces, and the queen can't actually defend that bishop. You know, she can't step here, 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 or here. All those squares are covered by various pieces. Can't step to d2. But also, whoops, you can't take the knight because of this. Whoops, can't draw arrows. There we go. Wonderful X-ray vision. I mean, Judit really is one of the most brilliant, aggressive, attacking players. She's showing it here. So what does Magnus do to fight back? Remember, if the queen goes somewhere like, you know, c4 or something, the bishop drops for free. So Magnus plays bishop takes for g5, or on g5. At least get a pawn for it, right? Now, how do we see the game proceed? Well, not with pawn captures. We're in the back cave. If you do this, then Magnus can take on b7 here. Think I'm lagging? Tiny bit. And actually, white's getting some counterplay. Something like this, right? Keep chasing that queen. Knight saved. Okay, just a sample. But white's got a few pawns. King could be exposed. These are connected and passed. Okay, it's counterplay, it's blitz chess. Well, a rapid play game this was actually. So no pawn takes. In the game, queen takes on g5. Great move. Giving up the queen. Now, Magnus takes that queen. If he'd saved his own queen, well then the rook drops for free. You know, this is the problem. So we see rook takes, knight takes, restoring the material here. And the problem is that the rook's hanging, has to retreat as Magnus does, and Judit emerges an entire piece ahead. You know, Magnus had to kamikaze that bishop there. Excuse me. So how did the game proceed? d5 from Judit. The big question now is, can she convert this winning advantage? She's playing Magnus Trickerson. He knows how to really mix it, shake it and bake it in blitz. That's a fork. But he throws in this randomizer. You could actually take the rook and allow this takes with check. Still great for black. But this was played. Now we see rook h2. Rook a c8. Someone's about to get rickrolled down the c-file. Don't you remember when those videos used to go around? We're never going to give them up. The pawn recaptures. King g8. Rook b2. And this is what Magnus does. Such a tricky move. He's saying, go on, knight d3, I dare you. Who's not playing that? Looks so nice. This is what he's got planned. Check. Now the king goes somewhere, and then he takes on b7. And again, it's getting a bit random. You've got a rook on the 7th. There's a pawn here. There's a knight in the vicinity. Rook on an open file. You know, you have to convert it. These guys dig deep at the top level. But Judit just plays the cool and calm rook lift. Covers the b pawn. This knight's safe, by the way. Now we see pawn c5, knight d3 finally, and Magnus doesn't check this time with one of the rooks. He plays rook d2. And now if takes here, takes on d8. Still a playable variation, but this was the game, the double stack. Now Magnus pushes on, takes, rook recaptures, king stepping in. This rook heads to b6 to cover that important file down towards his king. Knight backing up, and it's a great strategy. Force the trade of pieces. The more pieces leave the board, the more tricks leave the air, the more you can grind out your material advantage. Magnus therefore steps back, looking to swing around, get a bit weird. So h5 covers the square. Good move. Rook c6. Now this one invades, enters. A great Star Wars move. R2d2. Knight under fire. Heading to the edge of the board. Knight e6 is a great controlled move, covering an important square. And after a4 from Magnus, push 'em baby, rook h2 actually ended the game on move 50. Magnus Carlsen resigned because his knight is attacked and it has no squares. All of these are taken, and if you head to g1, we can play this and you're going to win. I suppose you can cover like this, but then bishop a3 seems to be good. Didn't go deep on this line. What's next? Bishop c5. That's nice. Knight's going to drop, and if it moves, now the rook's loose. So there's various ways to win. At the end of the day, black is an entire piece ahead. Beautiful game there by Judit Polgar. Now, this was how the tournament finished. Magnus actually won because Judit won this first rapid play game. Magnus then won a blindfold, went to tie breaks. He won the blitz tie breaks. This was some random tournament in Mexico, right, where he also played against the entire world. And this is their overall score on chessgames.com. So they played a fair few games over, I don't know, 8 years or something. I forget the details without the graphic in front of me. This is the only game I could find that Judit won, other than the random 2022 Blitz game, which they played in the park. You can find it on YouTube, and boy, what an encounter that was. I'll have to get a little recap of that up, or a short or something. Thanks very much. It's good to be back. Obviously, I've been away for a little while. If you're not sure about why and all of that one, I'll drop a link in the description to the community post, which I did on that one, in case you want to go and have a read there about that. Thanks very much. Speed Chess Championship tomorrow. And have a look at the video on screen if you want to see another incredible game of chess by the world #1 himself. Cheers.